Former Vice President Kamala Harris is breaking her silence. She gave an incredibly powerful speech in Nashville, Tennessee, accusing Donald Trump of distracting from his cover-up of the child sex trafficking ring that is the Epstein files by getting the United States into a catastrophic and unlawful war with Benjamin Netanyahu in Iran that the United States is losing and losing over and over again and destroying its alliances throughout the world and making the American people suffer. Watch former Vice President Kamala Harris talk about how Donald Trump is distracting from the Epstein files. Let's play it.
There has been, he's now talking about this deal. The deal would basically be what Barack Obama got, that he pulled us out of. And, I think that it is important to not be a conspiracist, but at the same time, you can listen to what people are saying. And wonder, is it just a full-on distraction from the things he can't handle or has not handled?
More from former Vice President Kamala Harris here in Nashville, Tennessee. She says, "Let me be very clear and go on the record. I would have always opposed this catastrophic and unlawful war. I would have always opposed it. There's no objectives. We don't know what the hell we're doing there. As she said before, it is a distraction from the Epstein files. And in the hands of Donald Trump right now, this is the most reckless and despicable thing the United States, has ever done, at least in modern history. And it's perhaps the biggest foreign policy disaster in U.S. history with generational impact. Here, let's play this clip.
Well, let me just be on the record. I would have opposed it even if they had approved this war. And here's why. There has been no articulation of the end game.
Right.
More from former Vice President Kamala Harris here, talking about how Donald Trump took the United States into a war nobody asked for, perhaps other than Netanyahu, Bloodlust, Hegseth, and some of these other neocon war hawks. The American people are suffering. Healthcare is being ripped away right now. Tax cuts are being pushed over and over for the wealthiest Americans who are basically getting social welfare for billionaires right now while the American people suffer. And meanwhile, Donald Trump is out there pulling these stunts, accusing everybody of communism, and they're out there just trying to divide this nation. Here, let's play this clip.
Presentation. These are troubled times. We have a president of the United States taking America into a war that people didn't ask for, spending billions of dollars without paying attention to the people right here in America who are losing their health coverage every single day because of policies that they're pushing to pay for a tax cut for the richest people in the country.
Man.
These are troubled times, Mark. And yet, I remain optimistic.
More from former Vice President Kamala Harris here. And she says, you know what we really need to do as well? She says, this may sound controversial coming from me, but we really need to revisit the Electoral College. We need to expand the Supreme Court. We need to revisit statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C. because the system that exists right now is one that is rigged for, frankly, a smaller right-wing extremist sect in the United States, and the majority voices are not being heard, and that needs to change. And look, the right wing, the Trump and the MAGA, they've had their experiment. This is what Trump says is a golden age right now. This is what they say is amazing. And this quite literally is the opposite. Let's play this clip right here.
And we must allow for a real conversation about revisiting certain things. For example, and I know this is going to be controversial coming from me in particular, we need to revisit the Electoral College. We need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13 justices like we have 13 district courts. We need to revisit, if they so want, statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C.
Yes.
If we regain control of the Senate, I served on this committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, when I was in the Senate.
From former Vice President Kamala Harris. And she says, you know what we also need in the Senate Judiciary Committee? We need them to put through a law and push through rules that if these Supreme Court justices say one thing at their confirmation hearing or refuse to answer basic questions, and then they contradict it or they lie, they get brought up on charges. We have to hold these Supreme Court justices accountable, especially as we've seen them all show up. Oh, well, Roe v. Wade is super precedent on top of super precedent. And yes, the Voting Rights Act is super precedent on top of super precedent. Then they come in and what do? Overturn Roe v. Wade, gut the Voting Rights Act, gut civil rights laws, and turn the United States into like a fascist place. It's ridiculous. And repeal all these environmental laws. Anyway, let's play this clip.
When I was in the Senate, only the second black woman elected to the United States Senate after Carol Moseley Braun. And the Senate Judiciary Committee has the power to create rules for its committee that don't have to go to the whole Senate for a vote and worry about filibuster and all of that. We should demand, if we win back the Senate, that the Senate Judiciary Committee have the strength to put in place rules that would include, if a nominee for a federal court or the Supreme Court comes before them and starts lying, that they hold them in contempt. If they refuse to give information for which the committee righteously requires, they think about accountability and consequence, and that those members of the Senate Judiciary Committee have the courage, because we require it, to hold people accountable who are misleading intentionally.
So you really embrace
more from former Vice President Kamala Harris here, talking about how there needs to be a real agenda about turning out the vote in a way that is too big to rig right now. Watch what she says. Let's play it.
Place where your grandparents always voted. And so on election day, when they go to that elementary school down the block, they might find that that polling place is closed. Registering folks to vote and having an agenda that is about turning out the vote in the greatest numbers we have ever seen, so that in light of and in this environment where they are cheating, we will be too big to rig. Too big to rig. It means being ruthless. They are ruthless. We need to be ruthless too. And by that, I do not mean cruel. That is not our nature. By that, I do not mean breaking the law. That is not what we do. But I do mean we must be uncompromising. And we must allow for a real conversation about revisiting certain things.
She talks about her travels across the country. Let's play it.
I'm not asking you to make any news here.
That was so clearly like a lead up to something. Come on, Michelle.
But you have many friends and supporters in this room, and in the Urban League movement. So I'll probably just ask this. We're all clock watching, date watching, time watching. When do you want to come back and talk to us?
Anytime, this is home to me. But I just do want to stress, 28 will not matter if we don't win 26.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sharing with some of the friends here, I've been traveling the country since I've been, I guess one might think of me as being currently unemployed. So I've had a little time. And I've been spending a lot of time in the South in particular, and especially now with this Calais decision, just to revisit that point, what they are doing to cheat. Some 19 states have done redistricting. And there are many more who didn't have to do redistricting because they already had cut the lines in a way that excluded blocks of voters. And this administration and the people who are leading in a lot of these places, they know that the people are not stupid. The people see that they're paying too much for gas and groceries and housing and childcare. They know on merit that they don't have a whole lot to be proud of. And so they know that if the people vote, it is very likely that they may vote them out of office. And so they are cheating. And they are not without power. So we have to counteract that.
And then she's asked during this conversation with the National Urban League. By the way, shout out to the National Urban League, by the way. I know lots of Meidas supporters over there and appreciate all the great work they're doing at the National Urban League as well. Kamala then talks about ranking the top 3 presidents, and here's her answer. Let's play it.
Another question on a little bit of different vein. In your view, rank the top 3 most effective presidents in American history.
Oh, Mark, don't make me do that.
Oh, you can turn the question around and ask me.
It was actually interesting. I couldn't sleep last night, and I was watching NPR. Was doing did anybody watch a whole thing on FDR? Did you watch it? And it was, of course, his 3 terms in office, and it was interesting to, and of course the role of his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, and he did some good things. Yep. In fact, it was he who talked about the expansion of the Supreme Court, and then he got ferocious kind of blowback for that. But he did good. It was Social Security. It was, when I think about what he did in terms of investing in the people during dire times and talking about the role and responsibility of government, that it should not just be about the benevolence of community organizations or just interpersonal relationships, that the government has a role. I think that he was a very important president. He appreciated that government has, in my mind, 3 essential functions, which is public health, public safety, and public education. I will credit, give me more time to really think about this. I credit, Kennedy, of course, in terms of what he laid the groundwork for, and then Johnson followed up on.
Of course.
Right? Around having the ability. But that was, again, an example of the inside-outside game. Because the reason that happened is because the pressure was on from the outside to appeal to the conscience of the people on the inside.
Yes.
And so I don't think that there's been any great president who has been without that kind of pressure as well. And then, of course, Barack Obama.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
and what he did with the Affordable Care Act, among many things, but in particular, if we had one issue that has been ailing America for generations, which is a healthcare system that has failed anyone other than the rich, and addressing that the way that he did and took a lot of heat for it, I think he's one of the greatest presidents.
Well, you named 3. And
all right, now I showed you Kamala. Could you imagine what a Kamala presidency would be right now, right? I mean, you'd probably continue a manufacturing boom that was happening at the end of Biden's term. Inflation was heading to 2%. So you probably would have had By now, 2% inflation. There would have been multiple interest rate cuts right now. We would not have been in these catastrophic and unlawful wars. Oh, and I bet you those right-wing fascists, they'd be out there saying, look at what she's doing with the deficit. We're deficit hawks. Look at what she's doing with the debt. Like she'd probably be reducing the deficit and reducing the debt, but maybe it wasn't quite as fast though, while the economy was doing well. And all these people who were like the right-wing hawks, as they call themselves, they would be like, look how bad this is. She's going to get us into World War III. She's getting us into, right? They would throw all of that her way. Quite literally, Donald Trump has added more debt than ever before. The deficit is increasing. He's got us into a war and wars involving the whole world. But let's contrast it. Kamala Harris today, here Donald Trump is saying, look at my healthcare, everybody. Look what I did to healthcare. I brought down your prescription prices 600%. No, what you actually did is you gutted Medicaid. You're now going to be significantly harming Medicare Part D as well. You've ripped away people's Obamacare plans. So you've taken away healthcare from lots of people. Prices are higher. And your plan, Trump RX. Trump just putting your name on something that's already happening and then trying to say that that's reducing prices 600%. The fraud, it's not only dangerous, it's also just stupid. I mean, we have the dumbest, idiotic, most dangerous person that you could probably pick in charge right now. Let's play it.
Discounts on prescription drugs. The prescription drugs were going through the roof for many years, and now we're getting record discounts with price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600%. Nobody's ever heard of a thing like that.
But as I noted, Trump says this is the golden age right now. This is the golden age, he says, with inflation up, with people can't afford anything, electricity prices up. He says, this is it. Golden age. This is what we wanted. Achieved. Mission accomplished. Wars everywhere. Here, play this clip.
18 months than anyone's ever seen before. Nobody's ever seen. This is the golden age of America. And we have a war that's going on. I guess you call it a war. Maybe I call it a military operation because they have no Navy.
To me, that's the clip that says it all. He thinks that this moment is what everybody wants in the United States. This moment, while his approval on inflation is net negative 50, while his overall approval is like 32%, basically as bad, if not worse than it was right after the January 6th insurrection. And then here Donald Trump says, question, you said they have some capability, the Iranians. So is this going to be just the future of the United States? We're just going to be in a war with them forever. You'll occasionally strike them. They'll strike back. Is this what we should expect? Well, yeah, I think so. It'd be foolish to say no. This is just what the future holds. Here, let's play this clip.
President, you said they do have some capabilities left. Should Americans be prepared for these back and forth attacks to continue until Iran simply isn't able of striking back?
They'll get weaker. They'll get a little stronger, maybe not, but they'll get weaker, and then they peter out. Yeah, sure, I think so. I mean, it would be foolish to say no. You always have to keep your guard up.
And then after U.S. air bases have been hit hard by Iran, right? The Muwafiq Salty base in Jordan, the Faisal base, the bases in Kuwait, Al Udeid in Qatar, the bases in the Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, Erbil, the base in Erbil. We've seen the satellite footage. We know that in Jordan a few weeks back, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 service members were killed, 1 service member killed in Iraq. We see the strikes from Iran, but Donald Trump's like, look what we did. We got all the ballistic missiles. We struck them all with our interceptors. No, we didn't. He's like, bing, bing, bong, bing, 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 bong. Ha, 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 ha. And the people in the room laugh. This was this Camp David cabinet meeting that he had. The people are laughing. This isn't funny, man. This isn't a funny show. This is real world. Our service members are really getting killed and injured. The casualty rate increases. There's really wars taking place. This isn't a joke. This isn't an LOL funny thing. This isn't Veep. This isn't The Apprentice was never funny, but this isn't that. Listen to what he says. Let's play it.
The other day you read that 5 missiles were shot. They were going 8,600 miles an hour. Think of it, 8,600. Now a car, if you go 60, it gets to be a little faster. If you go 100, 8,600 miles an hour, and they were big missiles. And they were shot at Jordan. And our guys were there. Bing, 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 bing. 5. Bing, 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 bing. Right? I don't want to be by 6. I had to be very careful. That would have been a great sound bite. There were 5 missiles, and we shot all 5 down before they got close.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Get your copy right now of WTF America. Put in the comments WTF if you've pre-ordered. It really helps. It's the book that I wrote with me and my brothers. And it really helps if you pre-order it because it lets us figure out where we're going to go to for the book tour. It gives us the information that our publisher wants to about what we should be doing better with promotion. So if you plan on pre-ordering WTF America, pre-order it now and click the QR code and you could, or just, we have a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Before you go, our book, WTF America, is available for pre-order now. It's the story of how we got here and how we fight our way back. To pre-order, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.